here at 50 Sussex in Ottawa, and we're going to be cooking today, but it's going to be a bit of cooking with purpose, and it's actually changing lives around the world, which I think is so amazing. So Julia Anderson from CanWaCH is here to help explain some of the reasons for this, and also Sarah MacIndoe is here from Care Canada, and you're going to be talking about your project in Africa and why this is so important to the women and girls there. But first I wanted to ask you, Julia, Canada's role. I mean, we're really leaders in nutrition for girls, and why that's so important.
Canada is a leader in nutrition. Canada is a leader generally in global health. So we have programs that run across a whole spectrum of the needs of women and girls around the world, and nutrition is such a critical element of that. One thing that I learned in preparing for this is that Canada supplies over 75% of the world's vitamin A to women and girls around the world and children. So that means that over 400 million children are affected and touched by that generous sort of support from the Canadian government. As well, what's really interesting is that Canada is a leader on research. The research connects to practice. The practice connects to saving lives on the ground. So one example of that is actually our board chair at CanWaCH, Dr. Stanley Zlotkin, who created something called sprinkles. So essentially it's a nutrition that can be turned into a powder, and you add it to food that families are already making. And this can greatly enhance and fortify the child's well-being, their ability to get to school. I mean, we know we have breakfast programs here in Canada. A healthy meal before you start learning is absolutely critical, right? There's no education, there's no sort of growth if you don't have that baseline of nutrition. So Canada is a real leader all over the world on this.
And Sarah, I mean, I've been to certain parts where, you know, it seems that the only thing outside of the hut is a pile of cassava root. Right. But what you're working on is how to get the villages to work with what they have, right? Whether it's sprinkles or whether it's just combining some foods that are there. Tell me about that program and how it's working.
Right, so the Southern African Nutrition Initiative is based in Malawi, Mozambique, and Zambia in rural communities across all three countries. And it's really about reducing child and maternal mortality and really trying to change behavior around practices tied to nutrition. So the project is really based around improving the way that people prepare food, the food that they access, and exploring the relationship between gender equality and nutrition. Often a woman's role in the household might determine whether or not she eats first or last in a community, and our project is really trying to explore that relationship and empower women to be able to access food and learn better ways of cooking food to improve the nutrition of their children.
Feedherfuture.ca if people want to find out more information about that. But one of the things that you were telling me earlier that I found so interesting is that what we're going to do today is often happening under trees or in community groups where mothers are often bringing their children to check to see if they're progressing. So just imagine all of this in a community and how they're learning how to sustain their kids.
Yeah, absolutely. So cooking demonstrations is a big part of the SANI project. And I've had the opportunity to witness them across all of the countries, and they always look a little bit different because we really promote using locally available food, but finding new ways of preparing food that they're already growing or have access to that they might not have otherwise thought of. And I found the dynamic between what we see overseas and here in Canada really interesting. I had a daughter 2 years ago, and I took a class. I took a course on how to feed her, how to make food for her, and how to make sure that once I stopped breastfeeding, I could feed food that was going to be nutritious for her. And one of those was actually a sweet potato mash, but it was just sweet potato. Something we're teaching people in communities overseas is fortifying the sweet potato with ground nut, which is peanut, because it's so readily available, and there's a lot of cross-cultural learnings.
Just before we start the recipe, I just wanted to ask you, Julia, this is one of the things that you do, right, with CanWaCH, but just briefly, you have all of these other partners, right? So just explain for us how intricate your organization is with going to the table with all of these world leaders.
We have over 100 members. So these folks are members. We've got Nutrition International, we've got World Vision, a whole list of over 100 members that are both on the research side the health community worker side, as well as the civil society organizations like these. So when we talk about what we do, we like to say, how did we get those women out to the tree or to do whatever? It's probably through some other programming. They're not just coming for a cooking demonstration. Right. They might be coming, I've seen projects where they bring people together via sport, via all kinds of things, loans, you were talking about economic empowerment before. So they bring people together and then they do the cooking demonstration. So when I think of our partnership, that's really what I think about. I think about the whole range of tactics and ways that we need to employ in order to really improve the livelihoods of women and girls overseas.
So well said, because it's the working together, right? That once you get them, get their attention, that you're able to share a lot of information. So I have to tell you, in all my years in television, the funniest thing for the entire crew was when I had to cook. I do know basically the recipe, but these are things that we would see in a community. So I'm going to put the pressure on you to tell us what these are.
So we have sweet potato here, mashed pumpkin. We have a natural unsweetened peanut butter and cream.
Okay.
So we're basically going to mix these together and mash.
And it's something that babies can eat, right?
At the age of 6 months and older.
Right,
yeah,
so you can
absolutely.
get the nutrition into them. Okay, so I'm going to let you...
I'll start mashing?
Yeah, why don't you start mashing? And I know that you're doing the 4 cups there.
4 cups of this, and 4 cups of the pumpkin, and 2 cups of the sweet potato.
Okay, well...
And then we're going to combine them.
Well, we don't have to get exact here today, so don't worry about it. Are you finding when you go into the communities that this is new information for them about nutrition? Yeah. Like really new? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of myths and misunderstandings about what to feed your infants and at what age.
Okay.
We try to promote exclusive breastfeeding up to the age of 6 months and really dispel the myths that there's not enough milk and that they're not getting enough nutrition from breast milk. So while in promoting this, we're also promoting the right types of food and how to properly feed your child. Don't give them water that we know is dirty at the age of 3 months, because that gets them sick. And so part of our project is also promoting clean water and sanitation and drilling of boreholes, because you can feed people nutritious food, but if they're not able to absorb those nutrients because they're sick, it's still going to lead to malnutrition.
Yeah. One of the things that I really like about this recipe too is, having been to some of these countries, you could, create this in some other way that the adults would also like, right? Like, we're not just talking about feeding kids and feeding women, but this could be something that could be actually part of dinner.
Absolutely.
I'll put that in there. So, and then you add a little bit of this because you're trying to pack it with anything nutritious at all. Here, you do the milk. I'll take the, because you've got the white on. We're okay with the black. And then you just use the milk to give it a creamier consistency, right?
Exactly.
All right, so we'll put that. I'll let you add the milk and do a little bit of stirring. And then through the magic of television, we have a finished version.
Wonderful.
And then you would stir this and...
Stir it, mash it.
But what I love is that you use the ingredients that are available in a community. You're not saying, oh, well, we want you to use, carrots, and a carrot has never grown in that particular neighborhood. Okay.
And it can be all kinds of different available sources of food. I was sharing earlier, caterpillars come into season, and while they're crunchy snacks, we trained community health workers to demonstrate that they can grind them, make them into powder, and add it to porridge for children.
You didn't put caterpillars in
No,
there,
there's none.
Well, I've eaten
I don't think you noticed them
I've
anyway.
eaten a few bugs in my time and larvae, but we're going to try this before we wrap up. So both CanWaCH and Feed Her Future, you're going to want to do a little more research on, because since I met CanWaCH, I have found out the phenomenal impact that they're having through all of these partnerships worldwide. Okay, I can smell the peanut butter though. Anything is good with peanut butter. See, kids are gonna love this.
My toddler would love it, actually.
Yeah.
I've made this a couple times.
My 21-year-old would love this.
It's the sweet in the sweet potato and sugary,
and the peanut.
Plus the peanut butter. Yeah.
And it's gonna be an energy-packed snack. All right, well, thank you both for being here.
Thank you so much.
All right, thanks so much.
And thanks for watching, everybody.